what the deuce is the bells ringing for? I thought I'll soon find out what's happening. And when I got down to the war had been declared.
I said, well, it's no use worrying about it, Mum. I said, somebody's got to do it. But she didn't say anything, but she had a little bit of a weep.
Every family had a father, a son, or a brother, or an uncle, or a relative in. So practically every family was affected.
We felt very proud that they were, well, doing their duty to the empire.
It was really almost the start of Australia as a nation.
Well, they say the good old days, but they didn't exist. I forget what the basic wage was, but it was very small. My father had a good public service job, but a family of five, you know, we couldn't have butter and jam together and bread, we had one or the other. And my toys were an iron hoop which I used to trundle along with a broomstick, and a two-wheel trolley made out of a kerosene case. They were my toys.
We were busy all the time. Even when I was 7 or 8 years old, I used to have to get up about 6 o'clock in the morning and help milk the cows. There was no milking machines. It was all done by hand, you know.
More self-reliant, I think. We were brought up different anyhow. When you're 9 years of age, you're considered near enough for full grown to do some work about the place.
Work. You talk about work. That was my work at home. We were 9 in our family. I was the eldest girl, so I don't have to tell you any more, do I?
And I could read. I taught myself, you see. I know I had a little bit of an education. I left school at 9 years old, just when you'd start to learn anything, you see. And there were 60 used to go to the little school, and only one teacher and a sewing mistress.
There were no migrants there except British, either Scotch, Irish or English migrants. Australia was essentially looked on Britain as the mother country, and they talked of Britain as home, even though they'd never been there.
We didn't think of ourselves much as individual Australians. We were part of the British Empire and dependent entirely on England.
The King, God bless him, the Empire, and then the land we love, Australia. The King, the Empire, Australia.
We did learn a little bit about previous kings. And I personally, I think that from what I'd read about them, the way they carried on, I reckon they all had their throats cut.
Being a primitive Methodist family, card playing was out, dominoes were out. Presbyterians were even stronger. The story is told of one youngster was going along with his parents whistling. The father said, "Don't whistle, people think you're happy." It was Sunday.
By 1914, Australia was the most urbanized country in the world. The population was 4.5 million, mostly Australian-born, predominantly Anglo-Celtic. On the edge of the empire, we were white Australia in an Asian world. Blacks were ordered to dig in. Light rain began to fall, and the men took what shelter they could. They had lost 2,000 killed or wounded, but they'd gained Turkish territory. They had no intention of leaving. Australians had been eagerly anticipating news of their troops in action. They were not disappointed.
Every Australian woman's heart this week is thrilling with pride, with exultation. And while her eyes fill with tears, she springs up, as I did, when the story in Saturday's Argus was finished, and says, "Thank God I am an Australian. Boys, you have honoured our land."
The legend of Anzac was born in those first days. The country innocently celebrated, and tens of thousands more men enlisted. Slowly at first, then relentlessly, the published casualty list grew.
My brother Rex, he was on his way to Gallipoli as reinforcements. He wasn't at the landing, thank goodness. And he was on the way when Leon wrote home and said, "Don't let Rex enlist," because, you know, he was experiencing the nasty things that happen in a war.
All you thought about more than anything was the news you was going to get about the ones that was over there. It wasn't the country you was thinking of, it wasn't the Queen, the King, whoever it was. It was whether they'd going to come back or not, who else was going to die.
Over the next month, the beachhead was made relatively secure. The men had faced the hard facts of death and were now determined to win. Thousands of them clung to the hills and the cliff faces in rabbit warrens of trenches, each hard won with back-breaking labour.
Dear Ted, to get an idea of what this place is like, you want to imagine North Sydney without any houses, no roads, not even a track, and scrub to the water's edge, not a tree on it. It's got very hot here. We'd spend our spare time swimming. When the Turk sees a lot in, he sometimes drops a shell in among them. Then a sniper got on the job, and although he would have been at least 1.5 miles away, he generally gets one a day. We get tobacco and matches once a week. Beer would bring any price, but can't be got. Money no object, can't spend it. We get the papers, some of them, about every fortnight.
Their front line was 3,000 metres long and about 1,000 metres from the beach. Always under observation and often under fire, they began turning this toehold on the Turkish coast into home.